The first card I have here is the Hangman. So the Hangman is all about waiting in suspension, okay, waiting in silence, and also being patient. It's almost like similar to that Strength card in that there is a quiet inner strength resonating from the wait, okay? For those of you who are dealing with operations too, especially like health issues, surgeries, and things like that, this is also the card of healing. And I do feel like in this situation, there is there's patience to be had here, but at the same time, it also deals with sacrifice, okay? So in this context, well, let me pull the rest of the cards, but what I am sensing is there's a sense of foregoing short-term gains for long-term pleasure, okay? This is a very enlightened type of energy, all right? So he or she, you know, in this situation, it's I do feel it's you. You're able to see the bigger picture, and you're able to operate from a place of enlightened self-interest, okay? So you're able to let go of short-term pleasures that don't serve you in the long run, and because of it, it's essentially sacrificing, you know, short-term material gains for long-term stability, okay? Short-term gains in every capacity for long-term stability is what I'm sensing here with this card. So this is actually a very good card. And also, you know, the period of waiting is also indicative of Mercury in retrograde, mainly because it is going to continue until June 11th. So stalled projects or things that are not gelling quite fast enough are basically there for a reason because of the troublesome Mercury in retrograde. So it's just important for you to keep that in mind and don't rush ahead just yet, okay? This energy too is a card of contemplation, okay? This is going inward and finding answers from within. Also from prayer. It does indicate prayer, meditation, but also spiritual enlightenment, okay? So in a different deck that I was using, it does indicate like spiritual ascension. And I do feel in this regard, you know, coupled with this High Priestess card, a lot of you are questioning, you know, just questioning the bigger picture, questioning like where you stand in the world, questioning if there is a God. But I do feel that your rationality is overriding your intuition in this regard. So the sword energy is a mental energy. It is a very rational energy. So while you might wonder about, you know, your place in the world, I do feel that you are looking for answers in about spiritual issues. You are looking at looking for rational answers to spiritual questions is what I'm sensing here. So there's that juxtaposing energy, you know, rationality versus spirituality. But what I am sensing very strongly is that, you know, when you quiet your mind, so for example, when you are able to meditate, when you're able to sleep, that's when your sense of rationality, your rational mind is quiet down, where you can receive intuitive messages, okay, is what I'm sensing for you, Scorpio, for this month. And it is actually a very enlightening month. It deals a lot with quieting your inner voice, quieting your mind, listening to your inner voice at the same time, or quieting that inner voice and just enjoying the moment. So a lot of you are really taking the time off to re-examine the simple things in life and taking stock of everything that's happening around you is what I am sensing here. Coupled with this, so we have these three energies, these three cards that are repeating the same types of energy. And then we have this Eight of Cups, which is, you know, moving on from something that you've invested a lot of feelings into, moving on to a different situation for yourself, okay? So for those of you who are dealing with this energy, I do feel that it is going to be liberating. But at the same time, the Hierophant here does indicate like institution, structure. It does indicate like tradition as well. And the Hierophant and the High Priestess are both very spiritual cards. So in this situation, they're both in the reverse position. So it does tell me that if you are walking away from something, and you're doing it in Mercury in retrograde, it is going to be problematic, okay? So Mercury in retrograde is, it was from, I believe, the the 19th of May to the 11th of June. If there was any type of a walking away situation that happened during that time, it is going to be problematic. If you waited before or after that time, then I do feel that you're in good hands, okay? But I feel a lot of you might be doing it during the first 2 weeks of June when Mercury is still in retrograde. And unfortunately, the things that we do, the projects that we carry out, or new decisions that are made will have to be gone back to and reworked. Okay, so for example, if you break up with someone during Mercury in retrograde, most likely you're going to want them back. Okay, and hence there is a blockage here. So you are not going to be able to make this clean cut that you're hoping for. You're not going to emotionally be able to distance yourself because there are still lingering attachments holding you back. Okay, because the Hierophant and the High Priestess are both in the reverse position, unfortunately, I feel that wrong timing is indicated here. Okay, so sorry, Scorpio, and new beginnings are not going to be able to come at the heels of this. Okay, I do feel that a lot of you might have done it during Mercury in retrograde. Hence, this energy again is saying that you were rushing. I wouldn't say rushing. You took some time. You did a lot of introspection, but it's just the cosmic energies are something that is above and that is, bigger than ourselves. So because of it, not heeding your intuition, first of all, and doing things out of order is what I'm sensing with this card. So I'm very sorry, Scorpio. If you're dealing with this, just know that that clean break is still going to be problematic. There are still things that needs to be wrapped up. Okay, so the advice here is don't do anything for the first, I would say, the first 3 weeks. Do it the last month. If you have projects and you're still trying to decide, you have the very last week of the month in order to take care of this. Okay, and that's when Mercury is going to be completely out of its shadow period, and that's when new energies are going to come in for you. And yeah, so this is your card here. So this is male or female. This is you inverted. So I do feel that intuition is definitely off for this month. Okay, so try to be very careful. If you haven't implemented those new plans yet, wait until the very end of the month. Otherwise, it's sort of like buying a car during Mercury in retrograde and then finding a lot of problems wrong with it, and then you have to go back and return it, or you have to pay like a huge amount to get it fixed. Okay, so it is going to be emotionally destabilizing, hence you're in the reverse position. So with all these spiritual cards too, I do sense that wow. Okay, so with all of these spiritual cards here, we have the High Priestess, the Hierophant, and also the card of prayer, the Four of Swords. And in general, what it is that not only is intuition off, I do feel that it is very important for you to reassess the path that you're taking, okay? And this is not just spiritually, but I do feel that this is a great card of karma here. So this is basically, being cast out in the cold and not getting the responses or not getting the answers that you want. So for those of you, this is for those of you. It's not going to apply for all, okay? Because it is kind of a somber spread, okay? I'm not going to lie. When you have the Tower and when you have the Five of Pentacles upright, it is going to be a very destabilizing month, okay? What I am sensing is for those of you who are feeling kind of like, who are either having an identity crisis, a midlife crisis, or even a spiritual crisis is what I'm sensing. All these cards indicate intuition, religion, structure, institutions, and even like the inner voice, okay? It's the card of prayer. What it is telling me is that the path that you are on is not in alignment with your greater good, okay? So take some time off this month, really. Really take the time. I feel that a lot of you might need it, okay? So take the time to figure out where you are headed before you take that plunge, okay? And I do feel that a lot of answers are going to come in for you once the Mercury in retrograde period is over. So it's going to be over by the 11th, but the Mercury is not going to be entirely out of its shadow period until the last week of the month. You're going to have a lot of destabilizing news. It can be good or bad, and I do feel that, you know, this is going to change a lot of the plans that you've made in the prior weeks. It is going to change where you thought you were headed, okay? So this is not altogether a bad card, but it is a very, it forces you to embrace change and be very receptive to change. Otherwise, it can be problematic, okay? So if you think about it in that way, and if you can, I guess, like, prep yourself to be more nimble, to be more flexible, and to basically have plans A, B, C, D lined up so that you're not thrown a curveball, okay? Cover all your bases, which is something I feel that you're very good at, okay? So you are very versatile. However, I do sense in general, for those of you who are off track in your life, okay, and this is a very small minority of you, keep in mind, but it needs to be said. I'm sensing that, okay, this is a message that needs to come out for Scorpio men in general. So Scorpio men, if you are not operating at your best, so for example, if you have had a mistress, this is a card of a mistress. If you have had a mistress, you're in a relationship, but you've had a mistress, or for those of you not in a heterosexual relationship, if you're in a relationship with someone and you're kind of stepping out of it, and there has been deception on your end, there has also been deception from the other party, and you're kind of like turning away from the deception. You're kind of like turning a blind eye and hoping, like sweeping it under the rug, and then things kind of like explode, okay? So the rug can only hold so much dirty laundry, basically dirty baggage is what I'm sensing here. So for those of you who are in this situation, I do feel that you have to confront it head on, okay? The lies, the deception, the lack of information, lack of truthful communication from you or from the other person, it has to stop this month, and it is going to stop this month. So if you can prep yourself for that, you're going to be cushioned in the fall, okay? So that's something that is coming in the works, and it is going to be quite strong. So unless we have open, honest communication, new beginnings cannot start for you, okay? For you, for your partner, for the people that you're dealing with, especially, but I feel like more than anything, it is going to be for your greater good, okay? So a lot of new information will come to light in the picture the last week of the month, and you're going to be able to make informed choices about how you want to proceed forward. So don't start anything the first 3 weeks. I do feel that you're going to have to rework a lot of the kinks, and then you can move forward with projects the last week, okay? This is actually a very good card here. A lot of the times I do read this card when it comes out for clients. You know, it is about being cast out in the cold. It is about, for men, male Scorpios in general, if you are trying to like communicate with somebody from your past, or somebody there, if there's like a woman, for those who are in that type of relationship, if there's a woman that you are trying to appease, that you are trying to reconcile with, rekindle the romance with, she's not having it. And I do sense here that she's, first of all, you both are kind of like cast out in the cold. Secondly, she is walking in front of you, and pretty soon she is going to leave you behind, okay? You're kind of like wobbling here, and she is just, you know, out of the picture. For those of you who are dealing this, the energy can be reversed in that so Scorpio women in general, if someone is from your past potentially, who is very, so you've left this person behind, they were wounded by life and the world in general. They're trying to come back in, and they're trying to appeal to you, you know, just by how sorry they look. And you're not having it, and you cannot accept them back into your life. So that's another way that that can play out, is what I'm sensing here. This is like spiritual, moral bankruptcy, okay? Is this alternative reading of this card. And what I am sensing is whoever it is that returns because they're at their worst, it's because life has dealt them, a blow, and they can't sustain it on their own. So they're trying to come back in. When people come back in when they're at their worst, that's when you know it's not sincere. When they come back in and they try to reach out to you when they're at their best, then at least you can give it a second chance, okay? But now they're at their worst. I know it sounds like almost like, I guess, cruel, but I do feel that, people, especially in romantic relationship, they might break up with you and then they realize there aren't that many fishes in the sea, and then they try to come back in and try to get back together with you. It is going to be very problematic. So already you know that they're not sincere. I feel like that's a really good indicator of insincerity. So, and then both of these cards, one on top of the other, I do feel it is going to be problematic, okay? A lot of you might be dealing with like divorces even, or like even a loss of property, okay? So for those who are dealing with like maybe foreclosures, being late on house payments, foreclosures or something like that, it is going to usher in a new living situation for you. It might be very destabilizing. It might happen very suddenly. The Tower is a card of like sudden changes, okay? Sudden shakeup in the foundation. So it can be problematic in that way. But if you have been, doing things to cushion the blow, you're going to be okay. And I do feel that this energy is going to play out towards the very end of the month. So you have the first 3.5 weeks to really, figure this out and navigate and try to mitigate the effects of it. And I hope you are able to do that, okay? So really take the first 3.5 weeks to really try to figure this out. And I do feel it is going to be beneficial for you. Aside from that, what I do sense is, well, in general, I will do the weekly reading to flush out this energy so that, you can get more answers and you can get more insights as to how to proceed forward and at least narrow down on what aspects of your life is affected. But I do feel, physical, structural environment, basically your home, your housing situation, especially your main relationship. It's somebody that you've relied on for, through thick and thin. It's somebody that has always been there for you. All of a sudden, they're not responding. There is a blockage in communication. There are blockages in new beginnings. And I just feel that, for Scorpios in general, who, if you have that voice in the back of your head, it's kind of like that nagging voice, like you're on the wrong track. You're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. If you knowingly are doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, it is going to catch up with you. So be very careful. If you are kind of like not sure where you're going and there's that little nagging voice in the back of your head, heed the advice, okay? So really try to figure out where it could potentially lead you, okay? So kind of like have a grid, like have a map, have a grid, and just go through all the pros and cons, or even, think about worst case scenarios here is what I'm sensing. Think of best case scenarios and worst case scenarios and feel it out and see if things are going to be worth pursuing, okay, based on worst and best case scenario. And I do feel that you have enough time to like plan this out so that you can avoid this Tower and this Five of Pentacles being cast out. And a lot of you too. So this is another thing that I am seeing. You are walking away from an unbearable situation. You've really had no choice. And because of it, there is a sense of like a depletion of your self-esteem. Because of it, you are operating from a place of like survival mentality. So you're not well received. So for example, if you're leaving a job and you're kind of like out there looking for new jobs and you're not feeling at your confident, most charismatic, confident best, in a job setting, in an institutional, any type of a very structured job setting, you might not be as competitive as other applicants because of the energy you are projecting. Okay, so that's the first thing. This self-esteem issue is going to be very difficult for you to see kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so this is more of a spiritual type of card. So the new beginnings that you're hoping for, and the, I guess, like the helping hand from the angels, unif the reunification with the family, the revival of love and joy and bliss. It's not exactly forthcoming just yet, mainly because the energy is going to, what I'm sensing is, it is going to hit you twice. Okay, is with this spread. So I do feel like, really take the first 3 weeks and try to work this out and try to see how you can navigate this issue. A lot of you might be dealing with like an earth sign, especially a Taurus. If that's the situation for you, I do sense that this person is not going to be very receptive, and it might take towards the end of the month for you to get like feedback, communication from them. And wow, I mean, like the only other bad reading that I've seen was for like hard reading, like difficult cards that showed up. Was for Pisces for last month, and that was very troublesome because of all the swords. In this spread, there are only 2 swords, but we are dealing with the Tower at the at the end. So I am really hoping to flush a lot of this energy out during the weekly reading. So I hope you're not too worried, but I do feel that the energy can be mitigated for those of you who are dealing with this issue. It is best that you try to, spend the first 3 months to figure some things out, okay? It's kind of like with the Pisces reading. Have a game plan. Have a very solid game plan. Gauge the probability of the best case and worst case scenario, and see if something is worth it based on the worst case scenario. If it's not, if the worst case scenario is too damaging, leave it out of the equation, okay? Just don't follow it, because I do feel it's like Murphy's Law. It's going to happen, okay? You're going to have this. So be very careful about that, and be realistic about how things are going to end up, okay? So be realistic about the route that you are taking in life, about the risks that you are taking for those. I'm sensing for like Scorpio men, because you Scorpio men take risks. For the women in general, I do feel that for Scorpio women, more than anything, the partners that you are involved with, okay? And I started to see this like last month, boundary issues. When you love, you are capable of immense devotion, love, and just, you are able to ride it out through thick and thin with your partner. For Scorpio women, men too, but I feel like more so for Scorpio women in this situation. So it is very careful that you devote your love and your affection, and you reserve it for the right people, okay? If you are starting out and your intuition is screaming out, don't trust this man, or don't trust this, whoever your partner is, whatever gender. If your intuition is telling you not to be with this person, you really have to heed your intuition, because I keep saying Scorpio women have very keen intuition. It is there for a reason, because you devote a lot in relationships, especially. So you are capable of making great sacrifices for other people, and because of it, you lose your sense of self. You tolerate a lot. And that's what I mean with the boundaries, okay? It can be good in that you can tolerate a lot from, romantic interests or romantic partners. But at the same time, if it's not worth it, it is going to be damaging for you. If they're not like worthy of the amount of sacrifice and love and, affection that you dump on them, they're not worthy of it, okay? And it is going to deplete you emotionally and spiritually in the long run. So be very careful, even financially in some situations. So please take care of yourself, and especially protect yourself, okay? Be careful about people promising more than they give, or, who are not contributing equally in relationships. And especially if someone has lied to you once or twice, they're going to do it again. So it is very important to ask Well, first of all, be discerning. But I do feel that in, close relationships, in relationships in which you are emotionally invested in the other person, you overlook a lot of their fault. Not because you're not aware of them. I do feel that you are very well aware of them. But when you're in love, for women, Scorpio, men too, uh, but the women, I've seen it many, many times. You give a lot, okay? You are capable of such devotion that it's, frankly, as an air sign, I feel that it's scary. So just make sure it is going to the right place and to the right people, and make sure that when you ask straightforward questions, that people are not being evasive. If they are being evasive to you, it is best to cut them out of your life and leave them alone before this tower situation comes in, okay? So I'm really hoping that, either way, I hope this energy plays out and that it doesn't, ruin your month. And we can come back to the weekly readings and try to flush this out. But I do feel that a lot of you might already be dealing with a situation that is similar to this. It might not be, I guess, severe or to this extent. But the tarot does reveal best case and worst case scenario as well. So that's why it's just important for, those who are going through this to at least know how they can fix it, okay? Or at least know how they can cushion the blow a little bit.